Good morning. It's just after 5 a.m. here in Calgary, and today is a back to basics practice. Now, one thing I want to emphasize with this back to basic practice is it's not about doing small movements because they're smaller movements and they're smaller than, the more complex movements like triangle or warrior three or something like that. I mean, we could actually do a whole back to basics on just those particular poses. More what I mean about back to basics is they give you an opportunity to really develop an understanding of how your body moves with smaller movements, but also to start to develop or maybe continue to develop your critical ideas around how movement works for you and what gripping and bracing is doing for you, and noticing things that might not have been things that may have been in your unawareness, and allowing those things to come up into your awareness. Because as we all know, we can't change anything that we're not aware of. Now, some might say, but Susie, all of your practices are like that. And that's true. And this one, we just dial it back a little bit more, but not for the sake of dialing it back, but really more as an opportunity for you to really pay attention. Okay, so I've got a couple of tools here today. I've got a strap. We're gonna do a little bit of breathing. And I've also got some buckled straps, and you can use the buckled strap for the breathing exercise we're going to do. But if you have a TheraBand that's about yay wide, then grab that. But if not, then just grab a strap, okay? So where we're going to begin is just to first notice some mechanics of your breathing. And so here I've got Stan, and I'm going to place the strap around his lower ribs. So it's around these lower ribs here. And the purpose of this is to provide feedback, okay? And so that feedback is just how are you doing what it is that you're doing. Now I'm going to be sitting in a chair momentarily. You can do this sitting or standing. So I'm taking this around my ribs, and then here we go, like so. It doesn't have to be snug. We don't want to limit the ability for the diaphragm and the rib cage to move. But now I just want you to just easily breathe, and try not to change your breath, but just notice your breathing and notice where you feel it in your system. And then place your hand here or here or here or wherever it is that you feel it. Maybe you actually only feel it coming through your nose or your mouth. So just notice whatever you're aware of. And then without increasing the volume of your breath, deliberately bring your breath to the outsides of your ribs here and move the ribs wide. Now, why did I say don't increase the volume? Because if we increase the volume, no matter what, things are going to move more in our body. And I want you to be a little more deliberate about bringing it right to here. And just notice if that's increased any tension. And if it has, then just dial that back a little bit so you're in a tension-free range, or in a range that doesn't increase your tension. Okay, now bring your breath to the back of your ribs here. This one can be a bit more challenging. And then do both. There's a lot of talk about breathing these days. And what's also important about just the act of breathing is to notice your overall tissue and how that is facilitating or limiting your breath. And when we move better and when we grip less, we actually get more breath in. And then what starts to be realized is that we don't have to increase the inhale to get more breath, but we actually need to Allow for the exhalation to fully leave. Okay, and then let that go. Now, let your natural breath be present. Without any technique, now notice what you feel. And where do you feel your breath now? And what's the quality of your breathing? Okay, so now from here, we're going to take the leg bone up. So if I bring stand back, the leg bone here is going to move forward here, and we're going to rotate this leg bone in the hip socket, okay? So the aim here is we're taking the leg up, and we're rotating the leg bone in the hip socket, and bringing it up like so, okay? So watch when you're coming into it. Do you have to come way, way back to do it? And to do that, doing that is not wrong or bad. What's important is that you notice what it is that you're doing, right? So you get to become aware of what you're doing. And then as you become more aware, you can start to make shifts and changes to support yourself. And then bring your thumbs here, and you're going to find the ankle bone on the inside. And then just above that, you're going to press into what you'll feel is the bony bit. It's like around the seam of your pants. And just give a little bit of pressure massage in there. And for some people, you might have never done this before, and you might be like, oh wow, look, that calf is a little bit tight. It has a feeling of being tight, yeah? Okay, and then we're going to take the hands, the thumbs, and bring them to the bottom of your feet. And just massage out through the feet, pull in the toes. And now check in with your breathing again. And then move your foot. Good. And now take your fingers and you're going to place them in between your toes. Okay, so you're sliding them in between your toes and then starting to roll the front of your foot around. So if I come up to you a little bit closer, it looks a little like this. So my fingers between my toes, and then from here, I just start to roll my foot. Yeah. Okay. And then from here, I can get in, I can bring those toes back, I can start to get into in around the bottom of my foot. Yeah. Okay. And just play around there. Good. Now taking that off, just rest them onto the floor and notice what it is that you notice on the bottom of your foot. Now that you've done this side versus this side. Okay, and then come up with this leg, thinking about rotating that leg bone in the hip socket, and then taking your thumbs to the ankle bone and then move up along that inner shin. And just massaging through there. Good. And then taking the hands and placing the fingers between those toes. And then let's roll out the front of that foot. So just getting into that forefoot. You can move it into supination and pronation. It doesn't have to be an exact circle. All right, lovely. Okay, now take that foot back down to the floor. Take a notice of your foot, and now notice the distinction between where they were before and where they are now. And develop that awareness of what's so. Yeah, so you've got a baseline and then you did something, you see a change or not, and you can kind of compare to what the stimulus was that you just did to your body. Yeah? Okay, good. So now it's coming up into standing, and we'll grab the strap, and with your strap, you're going to buckle this strap up. And I mean, now, even as we're buckling the strap up, notice yourself standing on your feet, and is there anything new or different with that? And then taking your strap like so. Okay, so now make that loop so it's about shoulder width apart, and bring it over top of your elbows. All right, so now you can see that the articulating joint is here with my arms and behind me. So what hasn't happened is my ribs haven't protruded. Right, my arms are now here, and now where my arms are going to go is directly back behind me. And so now notice, when you bring those behind you, are you bringing the shoulders up to your ears? Or are you moving that arm bone and articulating the joint just directly behind you? And so the strap isn't so tight that you get fullness in your hands. There you go. And now bend the elbows here and move the arms back. So now the forearms are parallel to the floor. So elbows move back, and notice if you want to do this, right? Any sort of slumping through your ribs, make it through the arm bones coming back. Yeah. Allowing yourself to be curious, right? There's no exercise that's going to actually help you get out of pain. But it's the awareness that you gain through the exercises that you do. That is what is the big, big piece to helping you get out and stay out of pain. Okay, good. Drop that down. Now bring them down to your wrists. And now bring the arms back again. And again, notice what's going on with your breathing. And if you've noticed yourself holding it, or if it's still easy, okay, let that go. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come down to the floor. And onto our backs. And let's take the strap around our foot and bring the foot up to the sky. Okay, so now here we are. And you're just going to hold the strap so that it's comfortable. So you can have your hands up like this if you are easy through the neck and your head and your shoulders and your jaw. There's no gripping and there's no tendency for migraines or headaches. Or if that is your tendency, bring your hands down, holding onto the strap so that your neck and your shoulder girdle and your face and your head can be more at ease. And then point your toes and flex them. Point your toes and flex them. Notice your breathing. And then take your hand in the opposite hand in the strap. Bring the leg across your body. You'll notice that my pelvis is still easy on the floor. Good, and then bring that up. And then other side. And then hand comes into the opposite side and the leg comes across. Okay, bring that leg back up. Okay, that comes down. So now we're bringing the legs wide into a butterfly, not Baddha Konasana. So keep the feet where they are. But as your legs rotate out, you're going to come onto the outside of your foot and then bring them back. And so through this all, the idea is to be aware of what's happening. So aware of your breathing, aware of any increase of tension or tightness or strain or grindiness. And then move in the range where that doesn't increase. So you might have a big range of motion and a ton of pain. And that pain increases as you move. So what I'm offering up here is the idea of moving only in the range that doesn't increase that pain. Or if you're someone who has occasional pain, it's moving in the range that you don't have pain. So it's a pain-free range. So it just depends on your state right now. So if you're someone who has consistent, persistent pain, then move in a range that doesn't increase that. And if you are someone who has occasional pain, then move in the range that it's pain-free. And so one way to notice that too is to notice those whispers in the yellow lights of tension or strain, just those quieter things that in your brain you might say, oh, that's not a big deal. I'm just going to go a little bit further. But in reality, you have to remember that reduction in pain, okay, and then bring it to a close. Reduction in pain does not correlate to an increase of range of motion or the increase of strength. So your going further in range does not correlate to decreases of pain. The rehab world knows this. So just remember that your increasing your range doesn't mean that your pain's going to drop, okay? When you move better, in all of my decades now of teaching people, what does correlate to a reduction is when people move better, when their neuromuscular patterns are better, when they breathe better, when all of that becomes whole in that way, then their pain drops. And it can happen very, very, very quickly because we can change our movement very, very quickly. So I hope that Back to Basics session has given you some food for thought, some considerations, maybe some increases of awareness that now you can take with you to the rest of your day. You have a great, great practice, whatever you do next, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take good care.